The Prepper Podcast, Episode 23.
You've got to know whether or not they're presidents of Christ.
The American people would never vote for socialism. He said, under the name of liberalism, the American people will adopt every fragment of the socialist program.
The Prepper Podcast is an up-to-date survival podcast based on military, wilderness, and modern-day survival and may be found at theprepperpodcast.com. I am Ken Jensen, the host, and this is the podcast about everything survival. This is episode 23, and today I will actually be talking about some things that I had happen over the weekend, and I will be talking about less lethal weaponry and a little bit on home defense and stuff like that. Today's show notes may be found at theprepperpodcast.com/023. And now for the housekeeping. I had a great survival masterminded meeting this weekend. What it is it's a small group that we're starting in the area that I live in. I'm just going to tell you, over here in West Tennessee, there's a group of people, and I'm doing this, this is set completely apart from my business. It's not affiliated with my business at all, but it's me and a few other survival-minded individuals in the area getting together. And the idea of the Survival Masterminded group is so that we can teach each other all of our different trades and all of our skills. The things that we master at, we can actually teach others. That way we can all become the jack of all trades and the masters of none. The jack of all trades and the masters of some. Still got to get used to saying that because that is the way I believe it. But, through the years, all you hear is the jack of all trades, master of none. But that's not what you want to be. You want to be the jack of all and the master of some. All right, so that being said, this mastermind group was awesome. What I talked about this time is I brought some inverters and some extension cords and stuff like that and showed everybody pretty much how they would connect it up to their car. Only one out of the entire group had a generator that was already in service and they were using it and stuff like that. So that person, I actually told them more about connecting a battery bank up to the generator and stuff like that for a reserve so that they can run silent, run deep, and they can conserve fuel, because that generator is going to create a certain amount of energy no matter how much they're drawing. It's going to at least create a certain amount, so we may as well tap into the amount that generator is going to burn as far as fuel. So we need to tap into that, and then we can go ahead and shut it off when the batteries are full and use that. But anyways, we went into a little more detail about using automobiles as your battery, went into details about putting battery banks up to your generator and stuff like that. Now, I am actually kind of exhausted today. I went to an area near Linden, Tennessee, and we actually did some we were looking for some land. We're looking around for about 20 to 30 acres, something like that, something that we can homestead. And we looked near Linden, Tennessee, Linden, if you guys want to look in that area. It's a very, very hilly area. I wouldn't say it's mountainous, but it's definitely some pretty rough terrain for hiking and stuff. But when we were there and we were looking at the land, it looked decent, but what we saw was we saw on the Google map that they had like water that was located in this property, but the water in this property, we actually hiked down this property and then back up, and the hike down was okay. It was about 100. I would say it's about 120 feet down, and then about 120 feet back up, obviously, so that we could come back to where we started from. We got down there, and there was hardly any water. This land was just some stagnant puddles and stuff, and that's because it rained last night. So we went down there, and the water wasn't really that great, and the land, it was good, but I would have had to terrace the land quite a bit in order to make it real productive. It's 20 acres of wooded land, and that would have been really great. I mean, I would have had all the firewood and stuff I needed, but I would have had to clear some of it out. I would have had to level out a place to live. We would have been at the very top of the property, and that's not always bad, but in this case, I would not want to be at the top of the property because I want to be able to move water, and you can't move water uphill, or you can't move water to your property uphill without electricity or a pump or something like that. So we decided this land is probably not for us. I'm going to include like a little topographic map or whatever so that you guys can kind of see the little hike route that we took. And it was pretty nice. I did it with my 5-year-old daughter, and she really enjoyed it. We went through a couple briars and patches and stuff like that, and it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun to get out and start walking around again now that the sun is out. So I told you guys that I was going to talk about defense strategies and stuff like that with non-lethal weaponry and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of talk to you about the fact that the economy, it stinks still. Yeah, they'll tell you that everything's doing great, but I'm telling you, as somebody that works in industry and sees the direct effects on his paycheck from the economy is not as good as what they're telling you. And when it is good for us, it's because we're pulling orders ahead. We're not really getting a bunch of good weeks. So the economy is not as great as they say. And if you think about that, people are still jobless. The unemployment rate, I mean, people are just running out of unemployment is what's really happening. That's why the unemployment rate is down. So there are still children out there starving, and it's not that bad yet compared to what it could be. So with the economy, if it falters completely, or if it crashes and burns or whatever you guys think it's going to do, I mean, and your children are starving, what are you going to do to get your children to eat? Are you going to go onto somebody else's property that has, a wheat field? Are you going to go onto somebody's property that has a huge farm and they have a big garden or something? You're going to sneak a little bit of food out of their property? You're going to become a thief for your child's lives? Would you be willing to steal, so that they can survive? Would you be willing to kill? I mean, if you're willing to steal, then you're not very far from being willing to mug people. And the fact of the matter is a lot of people that are great people now, that may change whenever their children's lives are on the line. So, are you willing to mug people just so that your children can survive? I mean, come on. You just hold somebody at gunpoint. You tell them to give you some gold or some money, and that's it. That's it. They give it to you, and you run off. But sometimes those situations would go sour, and people would end up dead because when put in a high-stress situation and guns are involved, then people are going to end up dead. Either the guy who tried to mug someone or the person that got mugged. Somebody could end up dead, and that's the kind of stuff that can happen even between two perfectly normal, what you would call great members of the community, good Samaritan type people. This is the kind of violence that is a real possibility in this kind of situation. People really just don't think straight. They don't think that they'll kill, but they may actually do so in this high-stress environment and then just regret it later. So you don't want to be put in a situation where you have to take a life and regret it later. So first thing we want to do is we want to put a couple things in for home protection and stuff like that. So, the biggest thing that you can do for home protection is put in a security system and make sure that the sign for the security system is out front, because that's a deterrent. A lot of people won't go into a home because home security's come a long way, and a lot of people with new home security have video cameras that are connected to the cloud. So, if somebody comes in, they're not only is it going to alarm and they have to run away before the cops get there, but even after they've run away and they think they're off free, the cops are going to show up because you ID'd them on the camera. So a good home security system with some cameras and a sign out front, that'll deter people from showing up. And another good thing is a medium to large dog. I don't, be honest with you, if I hear a yippy, yippy dog, I'm not going to worry about breaking into that home if I was a burglar or something like that. I'm just going to, if I hear a real loud, low bark from a medium to large dog, that's probably the house I don't want to be in. So I'm probably not going to go into that. So those are just a couple quick things. I could go further into 3M strips and stuff like that, but that may be for another day. Another thing is when people are coming into your home, you probably need to have some defense weaponry, and I'm just talking like firearms. Have shotguns, maybe youth model shotguns, maybe tactical shotguns that are easier to maneuver, and a sidearm. Have a sidearm for each adult in the house or something like that, so that it's easier to maneuver and get over to the other people. It's easier to be a little more tactical and discreet with things like that. But with a nice pump action shotgun, you're going to make them pee their pants and then run. If they don't run, then you're going to fill them so full of lead that there's a good chance that you'll, at a minimum, blow them way back, and they're probably not coming straight at you anymore. But this is not what the main subject is. For those of you who really don't know how you would react with a firearm in your hands, and you really don't want lethal weaponry, you don't want something that's just going to be able to take somebody out, but you want to be able to defend yourself, well, I'm going to have a list of things today. Probably I think I have 8 different items, but in the list, it's kind of a different list. It's a list of 7 things, but there's sub-lists and stuff like that. So the first thing that you want in your non-lethal arsenal would be pepper spray and or mace. All right, mace is chemical, okay, and pepper spray is a concoction that gets into the eyes and it burns real bad and stuff like that. But mace actually is a chemical that attacks the central nervous system, and it's actually really good. And I think pepper spray kind of attacks the nervous system as well a little bit, but it's usually not as bad as mace, and that's the reason why mace in a lot of areas is not legal. But I'm telling you that you can take some people down with pepper spray. Get yourself a good big bottle of pepper spray. You want to keep that on every windowsill. You want to keep them hidden in different locations in every room. And if you're out and about, you may want to keep some pepper spray on you as well, just so that you have something to hit somebody with if you think that you're going to be someone that hesitates to fire your weapon. Just go ahead and have some pepper spray on you. Another thing that you can use is a stun baton. All right. Stun guns are great. You can shoot them but they're one use. If you miss, you miss. But if you have a little handheld stun gun, not really a gun, but the little handheld, everybody calls them tasers. They're not really tasers, but the stun gun that's handheld, and you hit the person with it and it shocks them. Those are great, but you have to, reach the person, and you have to have a direct hit with the tip. But when you do hit them, it's going to knock them down, and it's going to hurt them, and it's going to shock their system, and they're not going to know what to do right away, and that's going to give you the advantage to either flee or fight and win. So you get them in a position of, they are defenseless for at least a second or so after you hit them with a stun gun. And the best of everything is go ahead with a stun baton, and the whole thing is energized, so you can just hit them like you're going to hit them with a small baseball bat or a little billy club or whatever, and the whole thing is electrified. So you could probably get somebody, if you get a good stun baton, you'll be able to hit somebody with that stun baton, and it's gonna really take them out. That's a really good thing. I mean, you could take somebody out with a baseball bat. You may as well electrify that baseball bat. That's what a stun baton is. Another thing, mag light. Now, it's a flashlight, but the mag light is heavy duty. I usually recommend the 4D cell battery version, because the 3D cell battery version is usually a little bit too short and a little too light. But with the 4D cell version, it's long enough that you can hit people. Now, what's really cool is if you go on Amazon, I'm giving you guys some tips off of my survival goal on a budget that I've been talking about lately. This is one thing that I found when doing research for this survival goal is mag lights have an attachment where you can turn them into a baton, like the police would use. And that in itself is an entire martial art, learning how to use a baton. And then on the end, you can put the tactical ring on the top of it, where the flashlight is. And then at the back of it, you can put a sharp, at the back of it where the batteries go, they have this sharp tip that you can screw onto it. Instead of using the little flat tip, you can put a sharp tip on it. It's meant for breaking glass. So you just turned your mag light into an extra, into like a super tactical weapon. And most mag lights now, if you don't already have one, most mag lights now are LED, and they're pretty darn bright. So a mag light is always really good, and you can beat the mess out of somebody with a mag light, and you can get away. Another thing is a slingshot. If you have a professional slingshot, then you're going to be, and you got the little bearings or whatever you need, you're going to be able to get really good flight out of those bearings. And you can take somebody out with one of those things. You could actually hit them in the temple and kill them. Chances are is you're not going to kill somebody with a slingshot, but you can hurt them. You can probably stop them and make them run, because it hurts a lot. It's like, it hurts a lot more than getting hit by a paintball, and this person's not protected. You hit them in the face with one of the bearings and stuff from a slingshot, and you're going to cause some damage. Another cool thing is Ninja Caltrop. The Caltrops are just bent pieces of metal, really. It's one way to think about it is, if you remember the game of jacks, you had the jacks on the ground, you threw the ball down, and you picked up the jacks, and then you caught the ball before it fell to the ground. Well, think of these as big industrial-looking jacks. And the point of a caltrop is to throw it on the ground and stuff behind you. And that is so that if somebody is coming at you, these caltrops will probably go through the sole of their shoes and cut their feet up, and it will stop them from coming at you. And if they do, you can just throw more down. Usually you can get like a pack of 10 or something like that whenever you buy them. And I think that might be like $9 or $10 for a pack of 10. So it's $1 per caltrop. So if you went and spent, $20-$30, you'd have plenty of caltrops to have in a little bag behind you, and you could throw those down on the ground. And anybody that's chasing you is going to get a pretty nasty awakening when they accidentally step on them, especially at night. Now, a lot of people say use caltrops and stuff like that to take the to flatten somebody's tire. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Like in a high-speed chase or something, flatten their tire with some caltrops, and that doesn't happen. These caltrops are going to get into the tire, and yeah, it's going to cause a leak in the tire, but chances are is it's not going to cause a big leak. It's going to be a small leak, and when it does finally leak out, they can still move on the rim. It's not going to stop them. It's not like a sudden blowout usually. Now, I'm not saying that a sudden blowout can't happen with a really big caltrop or something like that, but what I'm saying is that you shouldn't rely on these caltrops to stop a car. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't rely on them to stop anybody in heavy boots, but a lot of times they do. It depends on what kind you have and things like that. Well, so caltrops are really good as a defensive thing to help you get away when they're coming at you on foot, but is not the only thing that you need to worry about. All right, I'm actually getting through this really quick, so there's a good chance that this episode is only going to be like 25-30 minutes. And that's okay. That's fine with me because it's such a gorgeous day outside. I really need to go and play baseball with my son. We're practicing so that he can get a little bit better. So if this is only 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes more that I can practice with my son. So we'll get back to the list. Next is kind of a category of a couple things. It's specialized protective gear. All right, one thing that you can do for specialized protective gear is like a small tactical flashlight. So a lot of these flashlights, they can mount to to a pistol or something like that, and you can have your flashlight on the pistol, and they do really good. Most of them nowadays, they're the really bright LED, and I mean it's gonna hurt people's eyes, especially at night. And they usually have like a tactical flash mode on them, and if you use the tactical flash mode, you can really mess them up. You can really kind of confuse them a little bit. They can't see anything. They're not going to be able to do anything to you. And a lot of cops, a lot of times in the what cops have been trained to do is to hold a flashlight not in front of them but to the side. So if somebody tries to shoot at the light, there's a good chance, well, number one, they've got to be a good shot, but number two, there's a good chance they're going to miss the cop because they're going to be shooting at the light that is like 2 or 3 feet over from the cop. So you don't want to hold your flashlight right in front of you unless it's on your firearm. Then your flashlight is obviously going to be in front of you because you're going to have your weapon drawn and on the target. But a small tactical flashlight is very good, and the flash mode is awesome. It will mess up their eyes, and they won't be able to see anything. They won't be able to do much. And that's kind of why the cops use those big spotlights on the side of their car. That's why they use those spotlights, is so that you can't see them approaching, so that you can't open fire on them. Which, let's be honest, it's a very good thing for them to have, because it's a dangerous job. Personal alarms. Now this is one that people don't really think about that often, especially in the tactical world or in the prepper community or anything like that. They don't think about personal alarms. You can get a personal alarm, and I don't remember exactly how much it's going to be, but it can't be more than $5 or $10 a month. It's just a little bitty alarm that you trigger by pushing a button, and you trigger that alarm, and it goes back to like ADT or another one of the companies or whatever. And that alarm, when it triggers them, it also has a GPS, so they can track where you're at when you hit the alarm. And when you do that, help can come. They can follow the GPS signal after that. So even if you're on the move, there's a good chance that they'll be able to find you and get the assailant. All right, now I went through a couple of the non-lethal weaponry, but here's the most important weapon that you got. All right, if you learn nothing else from this short podcast today, the one thing that I want you to learn is that your brain is the most important weapon you have. It is the most important tool you have, most important weapon you have. Your brain, your brain, your brain. You need to pay attention to your mind. That is what's going to get you out of a lot of situations. We can look ahead and train, okay? The human a human is the only animal that isn't reactionary only. Okay? A lot of animals, they sense real fear. Okay? So don't say that they don't sense fear, they just react. A lot of the animals, they sense real fear. They have danger. I mean, that's just part of what they are, and that's how they survive. Your dog has fear. A lot of times they will bark because they are scared. But here's the thing. An animal has fear. 5-10 minutes later, it's not really going to care about that fear that it had. And it's not thinking about fear in the future. That's the issue. People can fear the future even though we're the only animal that can look into the future, be afraid of it, as in like the same exact type of fear, the same heart rate pumping, blood pumping, heart rate increasing. We're the only animal that can look into the future, something that hasn't even happened yet, and be afraid of it. But that is a good thing as well if you harness it correctly. Don't just have fear, because that's going to throw you into a depression. What you want to do is you want to use that tool, look ahead, and train for something before it happens. Okay, I'm actually, I'll get to that here in a second. You want to look ahead, and you want to train your mind and train your body for things. That is what preppers do. So, if you guys are listening to this and this is your first podcast that you've ever listened to on survival or anything like that, listen to me very carefully. It doesn't matter what is about to happen if you don't prepare your minds and prepare your bodies and prepare yourselves and your families for those scenarios. You are already doomed to fail. It doesn't matter what happens in the future if you're not prepared. You're going to fail. So we want to train beforehand. And a lot of this is let's go ahead and get prepped up on the things that we need. And those are training exercises too. You have to sit back and you have to actually think to make up these lists on the things that you need to survive each of these scenarios. So at a minimum, a lot of preppers, even though some of them are tin hat and they may seem crazy, a lot of them are very intelligent individuals and you wouldn't even know it. Most of them you don't even know are preppers until they tell you that, because they look just like the rest of you. Okay, they are, and as a matter of fact, a lot of the most involved community members that I know in the area that I live are all preppers. And that's because they're informed individuals and they know what is around the corner. But here's the thing. You can train before something happens. That is the great thing about being us. Things don't have to just happen to us. We can be prepared for those things, and we don't have to be afraid. That's the big thing. That is why we prepare for things, is we do not need to be afraid of anything that is going to happen, any of the disasters that are going to happen. If we can do something about it, then we prepare for it, and we do not fear it. A lot of the people, the argument that I hear the most is people tell me, well, I'm not that kind of person. I don't want to live life in fear. I don't live life in fear. I enjoy my life. Okay? My life is awesome. And I have even less fear now than I ever had in my life. Why? Because I know that I'll be okay when a lot of these scenarios happen. Now, there are some scenarios that I know that I'm not equipped to deal with yet. Will I get there? Probably. I think I will. I'll work toward that goal. But if those couple events happen, and I'm not going to tell you which ones, but those couple events happen that I don't think I'm prepared for, I think that I will probably still make it through okay, because I've been working my mind and I've been thinking. So part of the thinking and looking ahead and preparing is, and since we're talking about defense, take some self-defense classes. All right? Just go in there and learn how to do basic self-defense. If somebody grabs you, learn what to do. That's really important. Take those self-defense classes, and just, some of them are cookie cutter, but get some one-on-one training so that you know what to do. And self-defense, the biggest thing about self-defense is to get you to a point that you can run away. That is the biggest point of self-defense. Let's get you to a point where you can run away safely. So take some self-defense classes. If you want to get into martial arts or something and you want to, do a lot more than basic self-defense, then more power to you. I really commend that, and I'd be proud of anybody who decides to take that as something that they need to do, because martial arts are very important. So, but we're sticking with some basic things here. Take self-defense classes. The next is and this kind of plays in with the martial arts, is you need whatever weapons of choice that you're going to have, whatever weapons that you think that you're going to have on your person whenever it really matters, train with those weapons. If you are a gun guy, you need to be trained with those guns, because if you don't train with those guns, all they are a club. They don't do you any good if you can't shoot them. All right, you need bullets, you need a gun, and you need training. That's what you need. All right, so train with the guns. If you are using pepper spray, you need to get good at aiming your pepper spray. You think it may sound funny, but get good at it. So buy a bunch of pepper spray. Buy some cheap stuff if you have to. Buy the cheap stuff for practice, and then get a couple of the good ones and make sure that the trajectories are the same. But you need to have some practice spray so that you know where to go instantly when it matters. Practice with your stun batons. That batons is another martial art. Practice with your now baton-like mag lights or your slingshots. If you get good with a slingshot, that is an actual tool for hunting small game as well. Get good with placing your ninja caltrops. Get good with your flashlight and your always know where your personal alarm is, and be able to feel your personal alarm even if you can't see it. Know how to get to that button and push that button. So it's very important that all the stuff that I'm talking about, you train with. You have to train with this stuff, or else you are doomed to fail no matter which of these you've decided to use. All right, so that's pretty much it. I just wanted to say to any of you guys in the mastermind group, the survival mastermind group, I want to say thank you guys for such a great day on last Saturday. It was really fun hanging out with you guys, and I know a couple of you went out of your way. You drove a couple hours to get there, and a couple, I know another one of you that, they just got off the night shift and they stayed there all day without complaining one single bit. And I've done shift work for many, many years, and I want to commend him because he did a great job. And he was a very cool guy, and he just did not complain. And you could tell this guy was exhausted. He did not complain, and that's the kind of people that we want in this mastermind. He was awesome. The last time I told you that we were talking about battery banks. Well, the next mastermind we're doing, we're going to do the hot water bath canning, and I told them people need to get their own equipment together, and we're all going to show up at a kitchen, and we're all going to can things. So that's going to be a pretty cool thing to do. Is everybody canning their own food? It's probably just going to be grocery store food, because practice with the cheap stuff, right? Practice with the grocery store food, and when you get good at that, then all your awesome produce out of your garden is going to be even better, and you'll be able to use those correctly. You'll be able to do the procedure correctly and not ruin your homegrown vegetables. So that's what we're going to do. And then I think in the future, we're also going to do some pressure canning tutorials and stuff like that. So these things are really awesome, and I encourage you guys to start up a mastermind group in your own area. And if you do start up a mastermind group, or if you're part of a survival mastermind group where everybody pitches in and teaches others, then give me a call on the feedback line. And give me a call on the feedback line and let me know about your mastermind group. That would be 978-KNOWS-IT, 978-KNOWS-IT. And for those of you that don't have letters, 978-566-9748. That's 978-566-9748. Well, this is the end of the show. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you guys have a great week. And I hope to have you back next week. This is Ken, signing out.